Okay, coming up pretty quick on my next competition, so gotta throw some. I'm gonna throw the weights, throw the heavyweight a little bit. I'm actually pulling out the tape today to see what the distance is. I'm going to hit the questions for the business Q&A that I posted earlier this week. I'll do these in between throws. All right, we will start on the Instagram posts. Your go-to podcast for business. That's from Whitest Mike you know, Michael White. I get it. I used to listen to, Barbell Business from the Barbell Shark guys, but kind of got burned out on that one. It's a lot of the same stuff, and it's very, very fitness industry. Overall, I think those guys are just kind of on a different vibe than we are. What else? Harvard Business Review has something called, I think it's IdeaCast. Listen to that a few times. It's pretty good. Listening to the news, listening to business news, as hard as that can be at first, and understanding the markets a little bit is also extremely helpful because you can kind of understand how big companies move through the market, how the larger companies are moving, and that gives you an idea of scope and scale. And although that may not apply to you, it kind of gives you a peek into their playbook. I hate those standing throws of the 56. Spencer Tyler, you can go straight to hell or teach me that. Peg asked, what is the best place to start? And I kind of get an echo of that from my buddy Luke, who's starting a brand as well. That's a multi-layered question. Obviously, the quick answer is to say just go, but I think a lot of times that kind of rings hollow for people, that idea of just go, just start making. While you're planning, while you're figuring out what your structure is going to be, while you're figuring out what your approach is going to be, what your brand is, you should be creating while you're doing that. So do all the planning, figure out the regulatory stuff, the not so fun stuff, the paperwork, do all that stuff, plan it, have your strategic plan. But at the same time, be creating while you're doing that. If you're not the one that's creating, have the person that's in charge of creating be creating. Don't hold them back because you don't think things are ready. That's a mistake. However, I'll reiterate, do the preparatory work invisibly. Do that on the backside while you are still creating. That might be the farthest I've ever one-turned a 56 weight for distance. Cool. Kyle Kuikenvelt, I hope I'm saying that right, Kuikenvelt, asks, tips for managing work, family, fitness goals. Also, Kyle's one of our training lab guys. He's subscribed to HVIII. So thanks for the question, Kyle. You tell me, man. The best that I can tell you is just try to make them compatible with one another the best you can. I've said my almost my catchphrase here is that I do all the training, the throwing, the building the business. I don't do that in spite of my family. I do that because of them. I do that because they're another source of inspiration in my life. And I like to do things that I'm inspired to do. I like to see my children see me do what I'm passionate about. So in terms of finding the balance, I know that's sort of skirting around the question, but the best thing I can say is just find a way to make those things work all together. Try to find a way to incorporate them into your life, at least psychologically. Make it feel like this is all sort of the same picture. Like, hey, I'm gonna do everything that I can to the best of my ability, even whether I'm passionate about it, whether I have to do it, whether I wanna do it or don't wanna do it. I'm going to be the best, and I'm going to fight to do it better than I did yesterday. Even if it's, the job that I do in a cubicle, I'm going to fight to do better at that every single time. And if you take that attitude into every single thing you do, including your family, including being a better dad, better mom every day, then yeah, you're gonna see improvement in those things, and you're gonna see more balance, and you're gonna see those things come together and start to, I guess synergy is the right word. Man, corporate speak, right? All right, Mason asked, are you hiring? Not yet, man. You'd be surprised though, for too long. Also, what are the biggest mistakes you can make starting up? So this is one I have a conversation about pretty regularly. The biggest mistake that I see a lot of young, not even young, just newer business people, but especially when they're a little younger, is thinking that all the money coming in after you pay your expenses, all your profits are yours. Thinking that that's what you're gonna live off of, that's the money that you have, that you just go, bring that money in, and that's gonna take care of everything. At a certain point, if you're not a sole proprietor, or even if you are, but especially when you move into getting an LLC, SCorp, SCorp, whatever you may be and organize yourself as, you are going to owe taxes. You're going to have taxes to pay, whether they be corporate taxes, whether they be the taxes on your personal income that comes through the LLC, the flow through. that stuff is coming. So you have to put money aside. You got to stick some under the mattress, so to speak. You have to be ready for that to come at the end of your fiscal year when it's time to do taxes. But yeah, biggest mistake is the kind of living off the company account, using that as your expense account, just saying, oh, that's whatever we make, we'll just pay our bills out of that, and we'll do that. Pay yourselves, figure out a system to pay yourselves, and keep money in the business, and keep money ready to pay taxes, whether they be quarterly, whether they be your personal, annual, whatever it may be. You're going to have a tax bill. The one thing that I see that crashes a lot of new companies, the ones you see flash and that you never hear from them again, is that they get to about that 2-year mark, and then all of a sudden the laxity on what they've done with their tax catches up with them. That they've got these huge tens of, maybe even hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash, in taxes and penalties that they've got to pay, and they weren't ready for that. So everybody who thinks about paying your suppliers, everybody thinks about paying the rent, everybody thinks about paying for your materials, your assets, all that kind of good stuff. You think about that kind of stuff, and that's good business. But a lot of people get caught in that mindset that, oh, we made this much money and this much money is ours. And they push it down the road. They kick the can for taxes. Don't do that. Start planning. Start socking it away now. So when it comes, you can just drop into that savings account and get it done.
Let me see you. Let me show you the way. How we do it again, yeah!
All right, Andrew Cleary, Boomer, has 2 questions. What does your fulfillment guy do for you? Just shipment or production as well? He does handle all the shipping. He does handle production, but not for all of our items. Short answer there. And then the business question you have is, smart move, continue to rent and expand to a second location, or purchase the real estate that the first location is in. I'll take any advice I can. I'm just a big dummy. Hey, we all are. Like, none of us, I wasn't an apparel industry genius when I started here. So a lot of that depends on the kind of growth you're seeing, what your growth spike looks like. It's never a terrible idea to buy real estate unless you're in a hugely declining area. But usually if you're in that kind of area and you have, you're offering goods or services in that area, usually, unless there's a certain niche, you're gonna see that decline along with it, so you'll know. In your situation, it's hard to say. I know it's food service. So if you've got steady growth, your growth curve is pretty steady, continues to go, I think it's a smart thing to do to purchase that real estate. Potentially. I'm not a businessman. I play one on TV or on YouTube. But I think it might not be a bad idea in that situation when you're steadily growing to buy that, because if it's not going to cause you too much financial hardship, you can foresee that the growth is going to continue. There's no reason it's going to decline that you can reasonably see. That's going to be an investment for you in the future when you decide maybe you need to upgrade to a different location and you're going to own that. You now own that business and you can sublet that. That becomes another source of revenue for you. The key for really any business owner, unless you just have one complete cash cow, and even if you do really, is to find multiple streams of income, is to have as many streams of income, mailbox money, any type of money coming in that you can come up with, that your little brain can figure out, is to find money coming in. And subletting is a way to do that. Property ownership is a way to do that. Now, if you're seeing a big spike, and this is, I've worked a little bit in the food industry, I have some friends who are in the restaurant industry, so I'm kind of speaking through their experience, not mine. If you get a big spike, like just you have explosive growth, just absolutely explosive, to the point where you feel like you're missing revenue because of your current space, whether it's due to location, whether it's due to size restrictions. If you're missing revenue due to that, then it might be a good idea to expand out and get the second spot, because then you can capture that revenue and then you can start to see it level as you capture that spike. But there's a lot of factors in play there. Is it too far away from the first one? Is your location the reason that you're booming so much? I get it. So you got to consider that stuff. If there might just be a smarter way to do it, instead of just trying to get a different location to ride that spike. Maybe it's just a bigger location that's close to where you are, so you don't lose that kind of it factor that you have. So I hope that helps a little bit, man. And Black Anchor Design asks, are we an LLC or an SCorp? So we originally organized as an LLC, but we were not advised very well in doing that. So in going forward, we are filing as an S corporation. All right, Brandon asks, man, I'm sweaty, breathing hard. Springtime in Texas. When looking for someone to help run the lifting portion of the training lab, what certifications were you looking for? Some through NSCA, What serve was most appealing? Looking for a trainer. Yeah, you're not going to like this answer much, I guess. Keegan was brought on initially as the first training lab person. For a while, it was me. Matt and I populated the training lab stuff. We came up with the workouts and throwing programming ourselves. We eventually brought Keegan on. Keegan comes recommended from Jesse Burdick. We know Keegan. Keegan's a friend. We hung out with him when he was in California. He actually lives in Texas, Central Texas, not too far from me now. But he comes recommended from Jesse Burdick. If you don't know who Jesse Burdick is, let's take that step first and figuring out strength coaching. We know that Keegan had trained some solid athletes. We know that he was doing a lot of the CrossFit programming there. We know that Keegan had competed in the Highland Games. He had a broad strength background. He had a lot of discipline, and he knew how to program. He came well recommended. So Keegan also, because of his CrossFit certification, I guess sort of to your question, he's a level 1, I'm pretty sure. And so am I. And because of that, we started the HVIII after that, which is a CrossFit style training program that's a little bit tilted towards strength. So that's kind of where that comes from, but we didn't really bring him on or check certifications before we brought him on. He kind of just came packaged legit already. And then Zach Gallman is a fantastic strongman. He's a good content creator. He's really good at programming, and he's one of our sponsored athletes. And that kind of, the Strongman lab happened through conversations with him. Again, certifications, no. It's not just that he's good at his sport, it's that he knows how to teach his sport and he knows how to program his sport effectively. Tim, how do you pick the number of sizes to stock on the HVIII? Seems like you're out of the bigger sizes very quickly. Yeah, man, if you ever figure it out, let me know. So forecasting, inventory forecasting is one of the toughest things that you have to do in the apparel industry, as I'm learning. Again, I didn't come into this with an apparel background. I had forecasted for healthcare before, for healthcare volume, stuff like that. But forecasting for apparel it's tricky business, knowing what you need to order. And we've had a lot of hit or miss. And the problem is right now we're on a growth spike. So trying to look ahead of that growth spike so you can know that you're going to have stuff in store, it's really unpredictable. It's hard to do. I'm putting some tools in place that are helping me do that a little bit better. I don't want to just throw numbers at it. I don't just want to increase, by multiples just because it feels like things are going well, because then you end up with inventory sitting on the shelf. Some of that happened in fall, so we had a lot of stuff sitting over that kind of hung on into the store longer than we wanted it to, and we had to move that stuff. Yeah, more to your point about the particular sizes, it's really hard to forecast for the outer sizes, like the smalls, the double X, like extra small, double X, and triple X. It's really hard to forecast for those because those are always going to be smaller volume. But when you get a new influx of people, you're going to get new people that buy that size that previously did not. Whereas you can sort of almost on a curve figure out the middle sizes, the medium, large, extra large. You can kind of see that's going to happen on a curve because that's the majority of the population falls in there. The majority of our particular population, our segment of the market that buys falls there. Maybe it's 10 to 15% of the people are buying like a triple X, and then all of a sudden we gain a bunch of new people and that balloons up to 20%, something like that. That's a bad example, but it's hard to foresee that coming through. Not only does the number change, but the percentage of people buying that changes as you gain new market share. That does it. It's an okay throwing session. Feeling pretty primed for Arlington. Feel pretty good. Weights for distance are still kind of a struggle, so a lot of work to do there. Aaron is coming into town the day before Arlington. We'll meet up there, so there'll be some good stuff coming from that probably next week. Hopefully he can give me some tips on how to make my lightweight for distance not terrible anymore. Who knows? He's a pretty good thrower. Maybe we figure it out. It's also a real dum-dum though, so I don't know.